Well, Ellie, welcome back from your full day spent at Liverpool yesterday. It must have been quite sombre standing there and hearing today that this guy has been charged with being on drugs, driving whilst under the heavy influence of drugs.
Yeah, I mean, it was very sombre. I think the shock was palpable. And the people are just so lovely, aren't they, in Liverpool? So they were all coming up and chatting to us, and they were all saying how shocked they were. And you could see how excited they'd obviously been for the parade.
Yeah.
On Monday. I mean, it was Bank Holiday Monday. There was bunting all over the streets. I mean, the people were taking it down because obviously it didn't feel right to still have signs of the celebration.
You see reports saying, that this guy's been charged with dangerous driving. He should be charged with attempted murder. That's basically the only charge we should be looking at with him, because his driving was absolutely brutal and obviously very, very deliberate, what he did do. I think he's lucky to be alive, actually, because I think if the crowd had have caught him, that would have been the end of him.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the police have even said in Liverpool that it is a miracle that nobody has been killed.
Yeah.
But 60 people injured. I mean, as you say, the driving was just so erratic, wasn't it?
Well, it's obviously, again, we'll feature heavily on that story today. So this man, he ploughed into a crowd of people at the Victory Parade on Monday. He remains in custody after being arrested on suspicion of attempted murder, dangerous driving and drugged driving.
While questions, of course, are remaining as to how the driver gained access to a blocked road.
Merseyside police believe the 53-year-old tailgated an ambulance attending a heart attack patient just before he did his damage.
Well, 65 people were injured in the attack, including a 4-year-old with a collapsed lung. A Liverpool fan called Jack Trotter recalls his experience locking eyes with the driver and begging him to stop just before being hit.
Just sort of, life or death, sort of just trying to survive, get out of the way of this car. I was able to sort of lock eye contact with him for like half a second. So it was, and then by that time, he just tried to floor it and just basically ran right through me, essentially, to be honest with you, trying to kill me, trying to kill everyone else.
Well, there we are, that victim, obviously, from my part of the world. And I noticed that before in Vox Pops and things, that there were a lot of people with Irish accents and whatever. And that's the support of the team. I mean, traditionally very popular in Ireland is Liverpool. And we're going to go to former Scotland Yard detective Peter Bleksley on this one. I must admit, Peter, this really annoys me, and to realise the obvious that he was on drugs. His behaviour, and I'm sure you've seen the online footage that there is available, and a lot of people won't have seen it, but what he did seems very deliberate and brutal, and really, really needs condemned and condoned in the worst possible terms.
Yes, and of course he remains in custody. The police will have to apply for an extension now because it's 36 hours since this dreadful event. And I'm sure that we will hear soon about any charges that may be brought. But what I'd like to do, if I may, is answer the question that both you and Ellie have posed this morning, which is, how was that Ford Galaxy in Water Street? How was that allowed to happen? Now, we heard the police yesterday saying that it tailgated an ambulance. Well, let me boil that down to hard language for you. That vehicle was in Water Street as a direct result of a catastrophic security breach. That's how it was in that street. It should not have been allowed in there. Somebody dropped the ball. Somebody got this very wrong. And in the fullness of time, His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary will, I'm sure, repeat the words that I've just said.
What did you make of the response of the emergency services? Because they were quick to ensure the safety of the crowd as the very best they could, but they also surrounded that vehicle and arrested that driver very quickly because there was a crowd there that were rightly so angered by what they'd just seen. That could have been a very, very ugly scene, couldn't it?
Credit where it's due. Police officers acted swiftly to detain the man. Yes, tensions were running high, of course. I think paramedics and firefighters did a very commendable job, and Merseyside police did very well in getting information out very quickly, in stark contrast to how they performed after the Southport disaster. So credit where it's due. But yesterday, when Assistant Chief Constable Jenny Sims tells us not to speculate and says there was no intelligence that this kind of event was going to happen, well, quite frankly, it's nonsense. Because when you are policing a huge event like this, rule number one, expect the unexpected.
OK, Peter Bleksley, we're out of time with you this morning, I'm afraid. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter.
Now, it's GB News Northwest reporter Sophie Reaper. Good to see you this morning, Sophie. And Water Street is now reopened, we understand.
It has indeed. Good morning to you both. We're in the shadows of the Liver building this morning, standing on Water Street, which, as you say, has now reopened. Of course, on that day, on Monday, Bank Holiday Monday, this was the scene of so much joy, so much happiness for those Liverpool fans celebrating winning the Premier League. We all saw the videos and the pictures of hundreds of thousands of fans lining the streets here in Liverpool city centre. We saw flares, we saw the air filled with red smoke and the faces of those fans who were just soaking in the atmosphere and enjoying what should have been the most celebratory of days. But of course, as we now know, just after 6 p.m, that car ploughed into the crowds of those fans. And we heard yesterday from Merseyside police that the driver alleged to have carried out that incident is now still being held in custody under suspicion of attempted murder, drug driving and dangerous driving. And of course, Eamon, as you were rightly saying there are huge questions about how that driver was able to gain access to Water Street. Merseyside police said, of course, they were prepared for the huge crowds that were expected in Liverpool Centre. And they're now saying they believe that Ford Galaxy was able to gain access by tailgating an ambulance, which was making its way in to treat a gentleman suspected to be suffering of a heart attack. And that's how the car was able to gain access. But of course, there are still questions that need to be answered, and we're going to be here all day trying to provide answers to those questions.
At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. By becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure that your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.